Well, I don't see Crystal or Carrie. Do you want me to go ahead and just start, just for the sake of people's time?
You're in charge today, Matt. So I'm going to defer to you.
All right. Well, I hate to, oh, there's Melinda. I did see you got on. Well, we can certainly, I guess, start with at least the introductions. We have Bud Compher and Mark Dahlquist here with us from NeighborWorks, respectively Boise and Pocatello. I'm sure a lot of you on this call, especially that I can see anyway, have probably got to know them over the years, and I've come to have a lot of respect for their organization and the work that they do in our community. And just as I was discussing this a little earlier with Bud and Mark and the smaller group, but at the outset of this, the resurgence of this Fair Housing Forum, we had asked people things that they'd be interested in hearing more about, or trainings that they wanted to partake during these monthly meetings. And we had a lot of things that came through in that list, and some of the items that we'll hopefully be addressing today were there were requests for attainable housing trainings, some requests for generational wealth creation through homeownership for families living below 120% LMI, I believe, as well as a couple others, which I think a lot of the work that NeighborWorks does touches on these topics. And so we thought it'd be good to hear from them and what they're providing in our communities and ways that we can work with them and utilize what they do to improve the folks that a lot of us are trying to help's lives in our respective communities. So I guess I won't hold you two up. I'll let you take over. And if anyone has any questions in the meantime, you can certainly put it in the chat, and we'll try to make sure we address those throughout the session. Thanks again for joining us today, and we appreciate your time and wisdom that you might have for us in your presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Matt, is that our go ahead to take it away?
I think it's, yeah, at this point,
Okay.
I think it's your show. Thank you.
Okay, well, getting to see a few of the folks that are here, certainly several look familiar. April joined us from HUD, thank you, and Melinda and Crystal from Boise and Meridian. See Caldwell and the city of Pocatello represented. So I hope that during the conversation here, we're both Mark and I are just privileged to be part of this conversation, share a little bit about what's happening in the areas that we are represented here, certainly, and hope that at the end of it, have a little better understanding of what our organization's about and kind of where we started and where we came from. So I'm going to try to share screen. We'll see how that works. And it says it's number 2. So hopefully something will be coming up here shortly. In the meantime, anything you want to say, Mark, from your end? Otherwise we'll just jump right on in.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. That you introduced a while back the way, Pocatello and NeighborWorks Boise work well together, and as we go through there, we have lots of similarities and just great partnerships throughout the state there. So excited to talk more, but no, nothing else, Bud, for now.
All right. Well, as Mark mentioned, we do. Both of us are NeighborWorks Pocatello and Boise are chartered members of NeighborWorks America, and really, our what we do as an organization is look for opportunities to create housing. And as this discussion started, obtaining housing seemed like one of the topics that you all wanted to hear more about: generational wealth, economic opportunities, and then creation of homeownership. And NeighborWorks really centers around many of those things. And a little bit about NeighborWorks America. NeighborWorks America, originally called Neighborhood Reinvestment Corporation. They were founded in 1978. And there's about 250 organizations across the nation with the purpose of providing access to home ownership and safe and affordable housing, rental housing as well. Some of the creation where NeighborWorks came from, the first NeighborWorks organization, and within the NeighborWorks network, we have what's called a Dorothy Ann Richardson Award. And really, she was the first organization that started in late 60s, early 70s that wanted to fight back against the decay in the communities that she was serving in. And so a quote that we often hear within the network is just the solution was not to tear down the whole neighborhood, but to fix the houses. And many times as all of you are working in the communities you're working in or living in or serving, having and providing those opportunities to just sit and understand what the community needs are, and really look into the community for those inspiration of the needs that are there. And that's really where NeighborWorks America started. And for both our organizations in Idaho have a similar beginning of how can we help, how can we serve, how can we be a part of the neighborhoods that we're in. So from a NeighborWorks America affiliate as a chartered member, I guess I failed to mention that NeighborWorks America is congressionally chartered, which means that NeighborWorks America receives an allocation very similar to HUD. And so within that allocation, the T-HUD bill, the funds come to the NeighborWorks network organizations. And this is a quick impact of how those funds came about in Idaho for last year. The last thing I'll say about NeighborWorks America, when, anytime there's a change in administration, there's new board members that are added to the NeighborWorks America network. And many of those are from the Treasury Department. HUD is an example, and just good oversight from the top level. So when we look at the impact that comes into Idaho, we really feel like as an organization, our job, our duty is to explain what we've done with those funds and how we've leveraged them. And so this is an impact that we share with our congressional staff as it relates to what has come into Idaho from the NeighborWorks America network. And in 2021, we saw 814,000 plus come into the NeighborWorks networks here in Idaho. And then we look to kind of break that down more. What did we do with those funds as it relates to a bit of a report card? And so here you'll see 328 homes where customers were counseled and educated. We had 87 homeowners who purchased a home directly from NeighborWorks Pocatello or NeighborWorks Boise. We also look at ways that our services create jobs and maintain jobs in our community. And so 142 of those were created or maintained due to the services that we provide. 5 homes repaired. That looks different. There's another number below that's homes preserved and rehabilitated, but these homes repaired in the environment that we're in. We can get through the stats. I've got a few stats just to show, we're both in hot markets, Idaho just in general. There's a lot happening and escalating prices. So this number used to be higher, and I'll say Mark probably has 4 of these, NeighborWorks Boise in the up area. We only did 1 last year. And so Mark's group does a lot of revitalization in the Pocatello and surrounding market. The total homes, total housing and counseling services provided, so that's 792 for last year. And here's that number, preserved homes and rehabilitated homes. Sometimes that looks like foreclosure counseling and or rehabilitation in the city of Meridian, as an example, working with just doing some emergency repair. That is a preservation of that community and those residents. And other times it's just the refinancing that we do, or helping them stay housed within the home that they're living. 285 rental units across the state. And those range from single family or detached to attached, more of a multifamily setting. But at the end of the day, when we, here's our report card, what is our grade? And we are pretty proud that for every congressional dollar, for every dollar from NeighborWorks America that makes it to Idaho, we find and partner, and many of you on this call and those that aren't, $60 to pair with that $1. So the leverage of those funds that come into Idaho is just under 50 million. And Idaho is unique in many ways. I've heard that we have the most nonprofits per capita than any state in the union. And part of that is because limited resources, and nonprofits really have to come together to look for those opportunities. And we think that NeighborWorks, our network here in Idaho, does a good job with those funds that come in. So some of the programs that we work through is lending, rental counseling, resident services. You'll be hearing about all of these as we move through our presentation. Newly remodeled homes, education and counseling, home repair. We had some COVID-19 mortgage assistance we get to talk about, some pocket neighborhoods and neighborhoods, new construction that we bring to the table. And then really as the start of our organizations started in that community building engagement, whether Rake Up, Paint the Town, Pay It Forward, some historic home tours downtown. We get to hear from NeighborWorks Pocatello as well. So NeighborWorks Boise's our mission statement, and I'll hand this over to Mark to talk through from Pocatello's standpoint. But our mission is to create and lead in creating innovative housing solutions for underserved, under-resourced populations through strategic partnerships that contribute to building a stronger community. And the slide you saw previous to that, that's 60 to 1. None of that would happen. Those impact numbers isn't something that my organization or alone Mark's organization could create. This is that community and those stronger partnerships that come about that really make the impact across our state. NeighborWorks, this is our 40th year. So we're celebrating our 40th year. And for us, it started in 1982, where Paint the Town was born. And really the purpose of that was to help keep families housed, safe housing. You keep water out of your home and mold and all of that comes about. Was an important beginning for us. But since then, educated more than 2,200 families and students. We had done about 1,200 plus home loans and provided 282 affordable units to rent. And these are units that are between 30% of area median income up to 60. But really our purpose, we talk about our continuum of services, that list that you just saw. No matter where a family enters that list, our goal is to move them forward and provide those opportunities, those resources to obtain, retain, or maintain their home. So that's a little bit about NeighborWorks Boise, and I'll let Mark talk about Pocatello.
Yeah, thank you, Bud. Just a quick overview of our mission statement. And although Bud and I, are both part of our NeighborWorks organizations and chartered by NeighborWorks America, that I think one really good thing about the NeighborWorks organizations is that they can really respond to the local needs. That we're private 501c3 organizations that, yes, we do have some similarities, but there are obviously differences for housing needs and other needs in Southeast Idaho, maybe versus the Treasure Valley. And so, we don't have a mission statement or, kind of operating principles by NeighborWorks America, that we are an independent 501c3 and just can respond really well that way to our local needs. But on the affordable housing opportunities, that is a big part of our mission statement at NeighborWorks Pocatello. But we also take a holistic approach to educate people that we come in contact with. And, they need to become better at managing their money and understanding the importance of living in a healthy and well-maintained home. And so, we do create affordable housing opportunities, but that education is really a big piece of what we do. And then there's the healthy neighborhoods that's also a big part of our mission statement, that, we can build houses and fix up homes through our rehab programs that I'll talk about in a couple of moments. But really, we can't build and improve a neighborhood and really make it better without the grassroots support of the residents there. And especially in low income neighborhoods where we do a lot of our work, that, just thinking of the future, that if we really want to create a neighborhood and help them become self-sustaining, it takes that grassroots effort and the involvement of the residents and the community building and engagement. And I think we do a pretty good job with that to, kind of realize the full potential. And on this next slide, that just by the way, the picture you see here, it's of one of our Curb Appeal Award winners. And a few years ago, we set up a program where we just wanted to recognize people in our 6 low-income targeted neighborhoods that do a particularly nice job with landscaping and just making the neighborhoods look and feel better. And so this is from a couple of years ago, that we have 2 rounds each year of Curb Appeal Awards. And what we do is the residents nominate them, and when the winners are selected, that they get a gift card from a local nursery. That there's Pinehurst Nursery here in town, that they'll provide that. We put a sign in front of their house, and we invite them to our annual meeting to give them a little extra recognition. So, that picture is maybe just one more example of what we do to help really uplift the whole neighborhood and the community. And we've been around since 1993, and we're gearing up for our 30-year anniversary. And I wasn't here when we started 30 years ago, but I understand neighborhood housing services in Boise, that they were really there to provide a lot of support there, and we leaned on them. And back in 1993, when we got our charter, that before we did that there was really lots of fundraising and especially buy-in that we needed to get from the local community. And in 1993, that's about the year that Pocatello became an entitlement community and started getting their own CDBG funds. And at the very start, when we were trying to get our charter from NeighborWorks America, that it was really important that those government entities, as well as local businesses and residents, really stepped it up. And, the city of Pocatello with the CDBG program, we're still a sub-recipient of them today. But I think that was an important first step, that the CDBG, that, some resources were injected into our home improvement programs and our affordable building programs. And so we really are, like our mission statement says, that we try to be a strong collaboration of businesses, residents, and government entities. And then just kind of the last thing here before the next slide is that on the community building and engagement, that we really do provide a lot of resources that way and try to involve the residents. And much of our work takes place in 6 centrally located low-income neighborhoods in Pocatello. And we're so serious about that we even employ a full-time community engagement coordinator. And that person, Katie, she's really good about bringing the residents together. And once a month, we have what's called a community and government relations committee meeting, where we have folks from the police department and Christine's department and our neighborhood reps and NeighborWorks Pocatello staff members to just come together for an hour or two to share ideas and best practices and find out what's going on in the neighborhoods, tell our local police official that kind of what's happening, and ask a lot of questions there. And then also on the community building and engagement side, talking of our full-time outreach coordinator, that just this year that the Idaho Community Foundation had a grant program that's called Project Neighborly. And so NeighborWorks Pocatello and our representative helped the a couple of neighborhoods write grants, and they were successful in receiving those. And so I just think that, kind of that grassroots, that community building and engagement is a big part of what we do. I wasn't sure, Bud, if you were taking this next part or okay.
Yeah, go right ahead. You're on a roll, Mark.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, just what we alluded to earlier, that the education, the counseling, that's part of a holistic approach there. And I think on the next slide, it shows a little bit more of kind of the details that the pre-purchase home buyer education, that NeighborWorks Pocatello and NeighborWorks Boise, that we're in a network with Idaho Housing and Finance called Finally Home. And so that's the statewide provider of home buyer education for Idaho. And each of us are regional training partners. And so we teach those monthly home buyer education classes, and we'll accommodate schedules as well, and try to do as much as we can online and self-study that, kind of today's learner needs many different methods there. And on the pre-purchase home buyer education, that I think I can speak for both of our organizations, that anyone that buys a new home from us, or even gets one of our down payment assistance loans, that they're required to go through that 8-hour-long home buyer education class. And one of the really great things with that is that there's statistics out there showing that buyers are 1/3 less likely to go into foreclosure if they go through one of our classes. And then we have the Essentials of Home Ownership class, that's something that we started 3 or 4 years ago, that we were finding that many of the people that we were working with, that we would just hand them the key, and then they were done with any learning. But we just had a program where we brought those people back, and after they were living in their homes for a while, or after they had their homes renovated, that there's a 2-hour class that we teach, and we go over things like living in a healthy home. My housing counselor is there to talk about budgeting. We have a maintenance portion of that class. The community building and engagement coordinator comes in and talks about neighborhoods and how they can be active there. So that's a really great one. And then just 3 quick other things, that the foreclosure mitigation counseling, that fortunately we haven't been too busy with that part lately, but the market, with everything going on with inflation and that, you never know, it could be much more in demand later. But each of our organizations have trained housing counselors, that when folks are falling upon risk of losing their home to foreclosure, that we're an intermediary that can get in contact with their lender and maybe work out a plan and work out a modification. And then there's reverse mortgage counseling, that at NeighborWorks Pocatello, that we do a lot of that. And if you get a reverse mortgage, if a senior citizen does that they're actually required to talk to a neutral third-party source like NeighborWorks, that to help them kind of understand what they're doing with the reverse mortgage and making the right decision. And, we don't obviously don't care which way they go, if they take the reverse mortgage or not, but we're really good about getting them in here for a couple of hours and educating them about how that works. And then kind of the last major thing is the credit counseling, that we get a lot of folks that come in and they maybe want to buy a home, but they're not ready. Their credit's not up to par. They need budget, kind of counseling skills, and we do that as well. So that's just kind of an overview of what we offer there.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And we're very similar. I could say ditto in some of those specific to homebuyer education, pre-purchase counseling, foreclosure. We are preparing for that as Mark's crew. We have HUD certified counselors that are preparing for that next. We hope that doesn't come, but foreclosure, we are seeing, as families have come through COVID, haven't paid a mortgage and they've been in forbearance. you know, that note is becoming due. And so how are families, are they prepared for that? Can they pay one lump sum? You know, not likely. Can they get a refinance based on their credit now? It's harder, obviously, and unlikely. So the only thing that really would is an option is either try to look for some other opportunities or sell their house. And so to the degree we can step in and help walk them through what that looks like, we want to make sure they're doing what's right for them and their family. But in addition, I think COVID's taught us a lot of things. And one of them, we saw a lot of rental assistance that were provided across the state, which was great. What we didn't see a lot of until just recently, literally a couple of weeks ago, was mortgage assistance. So for the last 2 years, NeighborWorks has worked with with Boise and Meridian specifically, and I see here these numbers are off. We're actually well over $300,000 worth of funds to help keep families housed during the pandemic. And so a nimble way. And I loved the partnerships created there on the fly, literally. And in many ways, we were building the airplane as we were flying it. But the impact there was to keep families in their home. And a lot of families were helped and served through those two programs. Shifting gears a little bit into lending. So both of our organizations are CDFIs, so Community Development Financial Institutions. And we leverage that relationship with the U.S. Treasury for funds that come in to help create home loans and to create opportunities for down payment assistance. Many of the cities involved or the CDBGs and different opportunities create forgivable grants that we can pass on to the homeowners. Homeownership readiness as it relates to that, refinancing conventional loans. So one of the myths is, all we do is just low income loans, but that's not the case. We're brokers and we can do a conventional loan as well. Dream loans, this is where we can partner with the Federal Reserve, the Federal Home Loan Banks, and provide some opportunities there, VA loans and renovation loans. And Mark's team actually does a lot in this area, and I'll let him speak more to his programs.
Okay, sure. And just there are a lot of similarities there, including the down payment closing cost assistance. And one thing that we're taking advantage of is that last year, or maybe a little more than a year ago, that the Treasury Department, that CDFI fund that Bud was talking about, that we received what was called a Rapid Response Program grant of $1.5 million. And we're using that in many ways, but one thing that we have open right now where we're using those funds is that it's a 20% down payment loan program, and it's only eligible for people that are below 80% of median income. And with the CDFI program, that you have to deploy at least 60% of that lending capital that they grant to you to low income people below 80%. So one of the ways we're trying to get that out rapidly, that's kind of the directive of the program, is that 20% down payment loan program. And we've done a few of those. I think we've done like 12 or 15 or something like that. The good thing about them is that if they get 20% down, that their first mortgage lender doesn't require them to have the MIP. And so that can reduce their monthly payment down by about $100. And then on our 20% loan, that is just a 2% interest rate spread out over 30 years. And it's a great program, but with the inflating house prices, trying to get someone in a home now with our average values that's below 80%, it is challenging, but we're helping a few of them through that program. And then just a couple of other maybe unique lending programs that we have. That one I think that's been really innovative, where we've partnered with the city of Pocatello on with Christine, is that there's a mobile home repair grant / loan program. And what we were finding 3-4 years ago, we made this decision that a lot of the people were coming in that they knew that we were kind of a lending entity that an affordable housing provider, and they were coming in and they were mobile homeowners, and they're like, my roof is leaking, my furnace is out, my hot water heater's broken, my skirting needs replaced. That we didn't really have an outlet to do that, and it's really tough, of course, to loan with someone on a mobile home because that has a mobile home, because it's not real property that we can put a lien on like another traditional home. And so we kind of put our heads together and we worked with the city of Pocatello and came up with a program where CDBG is providing $3,000, kind of the first leg of that, I guess, for low income people, very, very low income people that live in mobile homes. And what we're able to do is that NeighborWorks Pocatello can loan up to $5,000 more. And so if you've got a homeowner, mobile homeowner that comes in and maybe they just need, only their water heater replaced or their HVAC or something, that they have their choice there, that, they can just use the $3,000 grant that we help facilitate. Or if the repairs are kind of costly, like the roof is damaged or something and they need multiple repairs, that between our loan program and the grant program, that there's up to $8,000 available there. And it's a risky loan, of course, it sounds like, because it is unsecured, but we've had pretty good success with that on the amortized loan portion of it, that better than what we thought. We only charge a 7% interest rate. And since then, we started out in Pocatello, but we actually have that available in a 3-county area now, in Bannock, Bingham, and Power counties. So that's a really innovative program. And I think that, I'm pretty sure that there's no other organization in the state that really offers that, because before these mobile homeowners were really stuck and had no options. And then another one is that we've got something called, it's the Community Loan Center, and it's a small dollar loan program. And in Idaho, as most of you probably know, that the payday lending is not very regulated, that there's no interest rate cap or fee caps there. And again, we were finding people coming in to our office that they were stuck in this payday debt trap, that they were going, just bouncing from payday lending store to payday lending store. And on that, if you read the fine print, that the interest rate is actually 300-400, sometimes 500% APR. And so we came up with an alternative loan program, a payday lending alternative loan program, where it's an unsecured loan and we only charge 18% interest. And that still sounds sort of high, but comparing that with a payday lending store, it's much lower. But just one caveat to that is that we can only offer it to employers that decide to take that on or choose to take that on as a benefit for their employees. And so no one can really come through our doors and get that alternative payday loan product. But if they work for a place like the American Falls School District, or a couple of cities that we have signed up now, and several private businesses, that they, through payroll deduction, can do that as a benefit. So we've got a loan program, I guess, that's kind of trying to control or curb that payday lending trap that so many folks get into. And then another one, just the last lending program I can talk about, there's the Federal Home Loan Bank, AHP. And what that is that we're into our second round of this now. And the Federal Home Loan Bank, that they recently awarded us $500,000 to help some special needs populations in the community, and actually in the 3-county area where we're at. And so right now we have a program going on with Federal Home Loan Bank where if they do meet certain criteria, low income is one of them. And then there's other special needs that they have to meet, like being elderly or disabled, and a couple of other things that will help facilitate this whole process, that these homeowners can get $15,000 of assistance from the Federal Home Loan Bank. However, there is the requirement with that they also have to come forward with their own resources. And many times they borrow that from NeighborWorks Pocatello. And so there's several projects in our area that we've been able to do that are in well excess of $15,000 for people that don't really have any other outlet. And really great partnership. And I think the good thing about the Federal Home Loan Bank, although the name says federal, that they're actually not federal funds. And so when we get these monies, they're actually a very good match for the CDFI, because when we write a CDFI grant, they need private sources to match up with that. But just a story that kind of a typical homeowner, Marion and her husband, they lived in their home in Pocatello since '65. The husband passed away. Marion was only 48% area median income, but she had an excellent credit score, had a couple of knee surgeries, and needed safer access to her home and some other improvements. And so she took advantage of the Federal Home Loan Bank program, as well as our loan program on top of that. And we were able to repair her steps, driveway, flooring, roof. There was a ramp there. I don't have a lot of pictures of this house, but you can see the new driveway, and that's a safer entrance up front there. And I think on the next slide, there's a couple of more things that when we were inside the house, because when we facilitate these loans, we also have our construction specialists go out and inspect the homes and do a scope of work and come up with kind of a listing of things that need done. But this house that our construction specialist went in, and he's like, what's that hole all about there? And after doing some investigating, on the upper left-hand corner there, that there was termites and lots of termite damage going on. And so you can just see the before and after there that we were in and repaired that, as well as all of that other work that we talked about. And so I can tell you many stories like that, but that's just one of them. We're pleased to have that partnership with Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines.
Speaking of partnerships, a few years ago here, Wells Fargo brought in what's called the LIFT program, which is called Let's Invest for Tomorrow, is what the LIFT stands for. So they brought in $3 million to the state of Idaho, and in partnership with NeighborWorks Pocatello, we also connected with Chris Bassett up in the Fair Housing, Bonners Ferry Housing Trust in Northern Idaho, Ken Robinette in Central Idaho, and Twin Falls, and the Community Action Agency there. But these are some statistics, or some stats, I guess, looking back. So out of the $3 million that came in, we're able to, that total impact actually was able to create almost $50 million worth of impact. And what's unique about that is some of the, the average home prices that bought a home were about $148,000. Wouldn't we just love to have those prices again? The lowest home that was purchased through the program, or the cheapest, was $24,000, so just about $25,000. Would love to see those prices again as well. And it kind of gives you the average there, but average income of families that we were helping. And this is a program where we brought in $7,500. And then there was a match component that the families brought in as well, up to $5,000. And that could be a part of another grant that we offer through the NeighborWorks loan programs. But the average income that we were seeing was about $35,000. We were able to help 351 families, and that number actually continues to climb here and there as those funds come back and we can relend them out. 56 cities across the state of Idaho. So the map shows kind of where we landed with all of those 30 different counties, Average medium age, I thought this was kind of interesting, was 35. The youngest, 19 years old, we helped them purchase their first home, and the oldest is 92. So that's kind of where that average came in. All in all, helped families 815, and again that number is counting. But just another way that the network was able to partner together to make those funds that came to the organizations, to kind of double those as we can. Community building engagement, we've talked a lot about that, and I'll let Mark jump back in here and talk about some of the programs in the Pocatello markets.
Yeah, sure. Just, building upon that community building and engagement that I talked about earlier, but just wanted to show you a few examples. That the first one on the upper left there, that was our 25-year anniversary project. And we actually raised all the money and facilitated the construction on this. But one of our parks in central Pocatello called Caldwell Park, that they didn't have a covered shelter. And, there were things like the school lunch program, a summer lunch program taking place there all the time. And, but no kind of covered facilities. So we raised the money and built that. And it's just been a great asset to the park. And it's on the border of a couple of our neighborhoods, the Bonneville neighborhood and the College neighborhood there, and got many events that take place there now. And one of them is that, just kind of that photo on the lower right-hand corner there, that we have something alluded to earlier that's called our Pay It Forward event, or Pay It Forward barbecue. And each year that we do something to celebrate National NeighborWorks Week, and it was just actually last week when Bud's group did the Paint the Town, but we had that Pay It Forward event. And it's a really neat thing in that we partner with a local nursery, and we get about 150 or 200 potted plants, and we give them away at that barbecue. And the kicker with that is that in order to get one of these free potted plants, you have to fill out a pledge card to pay a favor forward. And you get a lot of really great things on there, like, I'm going to help my neighbor take care of their pet while they're gone, or I'm going to mow my elderly neighbor's lawn, or make him banana bread or whatever. You just get like really a variety of things where they're helping out a neighbor. And then we also have a tool trailer and a tool lending library. And part of our mission statement earlier is to uplift neighborhoods and bring a sense of community pride. And what we were finding is that people were getting in trouble with code enforcement, or maybe one of the reasons they weren't taking care of their properties is because they didn't own the necessary lawn and garden equipment. And so about 10 years ago, we set up a tool lending library. And what can happen there is that a resident, for like $2, $3, or $4, that they can come in and they can rent a lawnmower or a weed trimmer. We have power washers, that we have rototillers. We have like all sorts of like shovels, rakes, and pruning equipment, and just whatever they need to do to spruce up their property. And we can do that for a very low cost. And the picture here on the upper right hand corner, that we actually have a mobile tool trailer as well. And we get a lot of community groups and neighborhood groups that want to complete a cleanup project, and for free we'll take our library or our mobile trailer out in the community and just open that up, and they can have a great selection of the equipment that they need to complete their cleanup. And then the one on the lower left hand corner, we have what's called a mobile block party trailer. And we got a grant from the AARP Foundation just recently here, about 3 or 4 years ago. And they wanted to fund projects that really promoted a sense of community and neighborliness and brought folks together. And so we applied for and received a grant from them. And then we put some of our own money in there and got a couple of corporate sponsorships. And I don't have a picture of the inside of it, but there's like 10 collapsible picnic tables. There's a large commercial sized barbecue grill. There's coolers, there's a sound system, there's cornhole and like other games in there. There's tables and chairs and just everything that you need to throw a party. And so a lot of our residents are taking advantage of this, that they get the block party trailer, and if they're in one of our neighborhoods, we do that for free, and they just have usage of that. And then if there's like a nonprofit in the community that wants to use the trailer, we'll do that too, and we just charge $50 for that. So those are just a few examples of the, kind of the neighborhood sort of community building projects we have.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And Melinda, that trailer idea sounds pretty good. I think she came up with that. She was doing that with the Vista neighborhood area, or at least providing opportunities for communities to rent that. And thanks, Mark. Some of the programs for NeighborWorks up in our Treasure Valley areas, Paint the Town and Rake Up Boise. And so we just finished Paint the Town last Saturday. There were 30 houses that were painted. We kind of keep track of, we had about 368 volunteers, and the total volunteers hours that were done over their 40-year span. We painted over 3,382 homes. And the gallons of paint, we actually have a brush number. None of this would happen without the community as they come in and come together. Volunteers from our Rake Up Boise, it's called, but we're in lots of different cities, and these are both programs designed to help families that could not otherwise afford it, and many of them have to fill out those papers as to the needs there. And in this case, Rake Up is just those families in need, either senior citizens, disabled patrons in our community, and or veterans. So last year we ended up raking about 700 yards, and between these two programs, the largest volunteer event in the Northwest continues to just amaze us as the community comes around all of what we do there. We're kind of getting into the building side of what we do and the housing, and just wanted to take a quick check. How are we doing on time, Eric and Matt? Are we way over, or what? Where are we at? We're just working through, getting ready to dive into some of the building opportunities we have ahead of us.
We typically go till 11, but we also let people know that we have some flex to 11:30 if needed for follow-up questions and so forth. So
okay, so far so good. We'll keep things moving then.
Okay.
Some of the rehab work that we do, I mentioned during COVID and partnering with the City Meridian. I saw Crystal on here, and thank her for her partnership and vision to be able to help in some of the communities in Meridian. We find ourselves across the Treasure Valley looking for and providing some rehab opportunities. So here's a picture of a couple that we've been a part of, and oddly enough, I didn't think about it till I looked. Those top two before pictures almost look like the same house. It's kind of funny that the brick facade below, or the wainscot, but they're different homes and all in need of just, Michael Shepard is in this case, oversees our multifamily and our ACT rehab programs, and came in and we work with a contractor that also volunteers and does a lot of the work himself. But since our inception of the program in 2013, we've been able to rehab and provide energy improvements to 38 homes in our communities. And we really love doing this. We love the emergency repair, getting to know those neighbors, and being part of the community in that way as well. And Mark's team is no different. Certainly an area that they work a lot in.
Yeah, and I'll just, kind of quickly tell you about this slide that, that's obviously before and after on, we have the owner occupied rehab loan program, and that's just an example there. But I think we've had 3 of these so far that are called Blight to Bright tours. And what it is that, you know, we get a bus that it's usually one of the city buses, and we invite the city council members. We invite congressional staff members. We invite some of our larger corporate partners to go on this Blight to Bright tour. And it's really great that we drive through, you know, mainly through our 6 targeted neighborhoods and show off the work that we've accomplished. And one of the main things we always like to show on these tours are our single family homes that we build. And I think something that's been sort of our bread and butter as far as new affordable home creation is the infill houses. And what we do there is that if there's a vacant lot in one of our established neighborhoods, or sometimes even there's a home that needs to be torn down, and that picture on the lower left, it's not a picture of the home there, but a few years ago, Wells Fargo Bank donated a house that caught on fire there, and Wells Fargo just decided to donate it to us. So we tore that down and built a new house. But where I was going with the infill program is that through the years since our inception, I think we're almost up to about 200 of these small infill homes that we've built on small empty lots in the central neighborhoods of Pocatello. And we've gotten a lot of CDBG funding throughout the years to help support that. And the CDBG funds often help with the acquisition, and sometimes they will kick in and allow us to, you know, do the blight removal and tear down a home. And so when we do the infill houses, we really need a variety of funding sources. That we do that with home funding through IHFA, the CDBG. We have something that's called SHOP that maybe you've heard of. It's the Self-Help Opportunity Program through Community Frameworks, that we get grants normally of $15,000 per home. And that requires our homeowners to put in some sweat equity. So there's really a variety of funding sources that help make those infill houses happen. But we think infill is just really a great usage of property around the community, that the private developers in town, that they're wanting to build on the fringes of the community and up on our benches, but they don't do a lot in the center of town. They're not interested in 45-foot wide lots to build on. And we do that. And we always brag to our city officials and government officials that we're using existing infrastructure to make that happen, and kind of utilizing what's already there and adding to the tax base. And so that's just really kind of music to their ears when we take those around or do those tours. And on what I wanted to quickly talk about is that we've got a really major project here in town underway. And we purchased the vacant Bonneville Elementary School from School District 25. And the building there had been actually vacant for 18 years, that nothing was going on. There were kind of people looking at the building that wanted to restore it, but it was very expensive to do that. And so we bought the school, and it sits on a city block, a little over 2 acres. And we've torn that down, and it's making way for a new development called Bonneville Commons. And we're doing that in our Bonneville neighborhood, which is one of the lowest income neighborhoods in town. And it's also a neighborhood that's well over 50% rental. And so we're putting a brand new development there with 26 homes that are going to be owner occupied. And it's pretty dense development there that you can see kind of on the bottom, that there's some tri-homes and twin homes there. And then lots of small single family homes scattered there as well. And they range anywhere from about 1,000 square feet to 1,700 or 1,800 square feet. And we work with the city of Pocatello to get some zoning, there was some codes there with the zoning that needed updated, that allowed us to do some denser development and get some relief there with the setbacks. And so we're able to to fit 26 units there into that one block area. And NeighborWorks Boise has something called pocket neighborhoods that they've been doing for quite a while. And we've gotten a lot of information from Bud about those, and we're sort of copying their idea and doing that in Pocatello right now. And on this development, I mentioned that it's taking place in a lower income neighborhood. And what we're doing is 20 of the 26 homes, we're going to do those at market rate, that they won't be subsidized and they won't have the income restrictions there. Whereas the other 6, that they will be set aside for people below 80% area median income. And on those 6 affordable income restricted homes, we're setting up a community land trust for that. And no one around here has really done that. It's innovative for our areas. It's got our lenders kind of nervous that I've never done this, and the appraisers, but there is a way around that. We're working on educating them. But this is, this is our biggest housing development yet there with single family homes. And it's got the affordable or attainable home ownership opportunities. But I think what I really like most about this is it's just going to change and revitalize that whole neighborhood there. So we're pretty excited about Bonneville Commons. All the civil work is done. That we're in the process of getting bids now to start the vertical construction on that. And then just on this one, that quickly tell you about what we're doing in some of the surrounding communities. And in American Falls, that we're currently building our 4th housing unit over there. And we're doing that infill concept again, where we're finding empty lots in the community. And American Falls, it's a couple of years we've been nurturing this process, nurturing the partnership, and it's entailed a lot of visits to the city council and talking to the mayor and other officials in that community. And what they were telling us was that, our biggest employer, Lamb Weston, a potato processing place, that they had a major expansion, but there's no homes really for sale in American Falls. And so people are having to come from outlying communities to work there. And they're really worried about how they're going to have adequate staffing for this big expansion that they've had. And so that was a huge need that they told us about. And what that sort of evolved into was that through the Idaho Commerce Department, that American Falls, the city, applied for a grant with NeighborWorks being the beneficiary there. And that, I think, was a really innovative thing. That from what we were hearing, the Department of Commerce never has really funded a single family home development there in a smaller community. And with American Falls, that it's not an entitlement community like Pocatello. And so we did not have any of those extra CDBG funds or anything to help us with acquisition and infrastructure. And so we just found out about 3 weeks ago that the city did receive a grant of $450,000, and that's going to allow us to build at least 10 homes in American Falls. And with that grant, it's going to help us with some acquisition and lots of infrastructure costs there. And that, I think, was just really a great partnership with the rural community. That there's a reason why private developers aren't doing projects like this. And having 10 or it'll be 14 homes in a community of 4,000 people, that's really making impact. So we're trying to spread our wings out into more of the rural communities.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to dive into some of the things here we're seeing, just the need before jumping into the pocket neighborhoods, just some pictures that we've done. But in our marketplace, sorry, I'm not sure how to get rid of that top piece, but we're seeing the medium sales prices, jump just increasingly. The average medium sales price now Looks like this was a January slide. I might have pulled the wrong piece there, but we're into the 604,000 is the average median sales price right now. And I think what's interesting, which was a record high, I think it was, I'm gonna have to go off by memory because these are January. This is the wrong side, a little piece as it relates to, the current stats. Looks like I did increase the bottom piece there, but the average interest rate now was 6.25%. I checked that last night. And I thought it was interesting just to look back a year ago at 2021, we were at 2.75% interest. And in 2020, we were at 3.1% interest. So, I mean, how all of this plays within the conversations that we've had about lending and how do we create affordable housing opportunities. The down payment assistance is critical, and it's getting harder to do what we do. I'm just going to go off memory here again, but we're right now at I think 1.6 months of inventory in the Treasure Valley, and that's up. And as it relates to, I think the last time I saw, we were about 1,500 homes on the market right now. The last time that we had that many homes in the market was 2017. So we are seeing an influx of inventory, which my hope is it starts to bring the prices down on the homes, which is pretty critical. But this is the environment we're working in, as we're talking about infill, as we're looking at new construction, we start rehabbing homes, the cost of the land, the cost of the home, and even materials and labor. All of that is continues to climb. For NeighborWorks up here, we've had the opportunity to do 8 subdivisions in the Ada County area. 7 of those are completed, which includes about 91 homes that we've sold. We have 39 in process, and the in process is on the corner of Cole and Fairview here in Boise. That also was an old school site that we've been able to purchase the back half of that, so about 2.5 acres, and we'll be able to put 39 homes on that. We had about 1.7 buildable acres there, and so our density is close to 16 to the acre, which is wished we could have figured out how to do more. That one actually was zoned that we could have done a few more, but this is an example of what they look like. And I think some of the things we talk a little bit about is about an affordable housing. It is that purchase price, and how much is it going to cost to get into that home? And that's where down payment assistance comes in, and those are critical conversations. But I think sometimes we lose track of the value that building a home, in this case, Energy Star certified, Indoor Air Quality Plus certifications. When we build these homes, that our affordable units shouldn't be less than what's being built. And you shouldn't, in my opinion, be able to walk down the street and say, oh, that one was affordable. And so in our mixed income and sometimes mixed use infill developments in our pocket neighborhoods, these are things that we think about, and what that monthly consumption of energy and of costs. These certifications really help us save money monthly. And many times, as mentioned, we think about the purchase price, but not about the monthly costs and expenses. And so we really dedicate a lot of time and energy as it relates to what we build to keep those monthly expenses as low as we can go with them. Now, we'll see if this functions, but something we were talking about, a pocket neighborhood, what does that look like when you start getting into a dense market or high density conversation? This is one of our pocket neighborhoods that actually received a Mayor's Choice Award in 2020. And it's in a Hawthorne area. Hawthorne Street Cottages is the name of the subdivision. In this subdivision, we had 4 dedicated units that were going to be affordable. And what ended up happening was we created, what NOAA, I guess is the word that's used, naturally occurring affordable housing. And so some of these homes, due to the size of the home, were more affordable. we had a family that she was a school teacher for all of her life and moved into the area, had a little bit of funds, and was she makes $25,000 a year and was able to purchase one of the homes there. Also partner with the city of Boise as it relates to some of their funding. This had CDBG funds and home funds as well, which made that development a success. But the infill is critical and has been a great opportunity for us to work in many different communities. And what we're finding is as NeighborWorks moves forward in the Treasure Valley is looking more to those rural communities, and that is a need. Some of the things I'll transition to multifamily, and I think we'll be done here after these slides, is just some of the great work that Mark's doing in some new development. And so I'll let him talk about his upcoming Light Tech project.
Yeah, sure. We're just very excited about this one. It's Park Meadows Senior Apartments, and it's our first Light Tech low-income housing tax credit project in about 15 or so years. We did one up in Idaho Falls right before I started here. But this is going to be a 49-unit apartment complex for senior citizens. We partnered with a housing developer in Montana called Housing Solutions, and they've done a lot of these Light Tech projects in Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota, and they wanted to move into Idaho. So their first project will be in Pocatello. And one of the things I think that helped get this off the ground definitely is that we approached Christine at the city of Pocatello with some CDBG funds, and Idaho Housing facilitates the process, the award process for Light Tech, because it's very competitive. And we were able to get a couple of extra points because we got $75,000 in CDBG funds from the city that helped us out there. So we're excited to move this forward. Again, that spirit of infill development in Pocatello, it's also located in one of the lower income neighborhoods, and it's on an empty vacant lot between South 4th and South 5th, a couple of busy one-way streets, and we had to get the zoning changed on this to make it happen. So great opportunity to provide some more affordable housing and at the same time help revitalize a section of town that will benefit.
For NeighborWorks in the Treasure Valley area, in a couple different counties, our multifamily, sometimes the neighborhoods meet within our multifamily apartment areas or the community room that we offer. And that's really the point of what we do and what we bring in, is to provide that space for our community to connect. And one of the things we do through resident services on all of our properties, and look for ways to bring in, I have a food pantry and some resume building workshops, and rent a tablet so they can, they just come in, they check it out. Technically don't rent it, they check it out, but providing some digital connection in the time that we've been through. So that was a COVID, both food pantry and the tablet rental was a COVID response to what we were seeing in our multifamily. And so these are some of who we serve as it relates to individuals, and we enjoy partnering and helping English as a second language for some new Americans that join us. And we sure just appreciate the opportunity to meet them in that way. And these are our last two slides. And so I just wanted to say what we're seeing in the Treasure Valley is, as it relates to the cost of rent, is a little over $2,000 a month. And so affordable rents is critical in the areas that we're working in on the multifamily side. And we're pretty consistent with rental vacancies as it relates to about 1.52. I've watched the numbers for new construction multifamily jump significantly this year. The vacancy for single family still it's about right there. And so this is just a quick flyby. Thank you for letting us come and talk and kind of give you an idea of what the NeighborWorks network does within the Idaho areas, and truly appreciate the opportunity that we've had in front of you today.
Thank you, Bud and Mark. I appreciate you guys' time. I know we focus a lot on, protected classes and a lot of those things in the prior trainings, but I know in the CDBG side of, or part of the world, we focus heavily on income, low income households. And one of the things that at least I have recognized is the lack of affordable housing and attainable housing in our communities is dramatically increasing. And it's really nice to see the work you guys are doing to help provide what I would consider choice for a lot of families that in many ways don't have any options, and they're kind of stuck where they're at, and it may not be favorable, it may not be ideal place for them to rent. It might quite frankly not even be livable, I guess you might say. But I like that you're working in these communities, in our communities, trying to create opportunities for our what I would consider some of our also very vulnerable families, which are the lower income part of our community. So again, appreciate what you're doing. I have made several notes about things that I would love to talk to you more about. That sounded like things that we could certainly use our funding for. So I wasn't, there's a couple of programs you mentioned that I wasn't aware you were doing. So it's kind of got me excited to see how we can partner here in Nampa. So again, thank you for your time. If anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to either put it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask a question if you have any.
This is Eric, Matt. I just want to follow up on a post, something I posted in the chat to Mark. I'm really glad to hear that that a lot of, you said most of those projects or the units in that Bonneville Commons will be have some visitability features, like at least one 0-step entry. I was just kind of looking at the drawing, that oblique drawing that showed, a couple steps in front of each one. So I'm assuming those are kind of on the side or the back or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of them, Eric, like the back side or where the garage is. That
right. Perfect.
Yeah, and with visitability, like or the SHOP funding and then Idaho Housing as well, like they really encourage us to do that, recommend, so we run with that for sure.
Yeah, we've kind of written that into the the plans for that, and as part of our analysis of impediments, that's one of the things that we found. And I guess while the group's still together, one of the things that really stuck out for me was a conversation with my friend Jeremy Maxand, who's at Link here. And he and his wife bought a house in a brand new subdivision east of Boise. And he spent probably $25,000-$30,000 to modify the entryways because none of the houses in the subdivision were visitable. And same thing with our friend Jane, who uses a wheelchair. And the point that Jeremy made is that, now, after spending all this money, which is kind of like a disability surcharge or a disability tax, he can get in and out of his house. But he said, if one of my neighbors invites me to dinner or invites my wife and me to dinner, we can't go because I can't get in and out of their house. Or if they want us to pet sit for them, we can't help them out. So the point I think that comes through for that is, one accessible home or one visitable home is kind of solitary and isolating. But if you can make an entire subdivision, that where each unit has at least one 0-step entrance, that's a community, and so I think, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd just say to all the developers out there, just focus on that, because we're building homes right now that are costing people money to live in. If they have to modify them for themselves or for a parent or a family member that uses a wheelchair. And the estimates that we've got in our current, current analysis impediments, basically they're saying that, economists calculate a 60% probability that every newly built single family detached home will house at least one disabled resident and a 90% chance that each new home will welcome disabled visitors through its lifetime. So, and I'll get off my soapbox, but you guys get it. So
Okay.
thanks for doing all your great work. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Eric, thank you for those statistics. Our Cole and Fairview subdivision, we didn't talk much about it, is we have 39 homes and every home will be visitable. And so zero entry is critical for us on that one. I have 2 homes that are only going to be visitable through the garage, but the rest will be a front entry visible. And that means, really could take it a step farther. We're going to have each ground level will have a full bathroom and a bedroom. And nice. So to the degree there does need to be other services, or my mother-in-law lives with us. And so that would be an area that she could live comfortably and at least be able to get in and out of that wheelchair. I was in a wheelchair for 4 months, and I was amazed at how limited you are in just little bumps and little things like that. And
exactly.
Also, wanted to thank Jessica for pushing in the market report. I don't know what happened. I worked so hard on that one to just kind of give everybody a snapshot. But thank you, Jessica, for pulling that in.
Amen. Well, that's great. And I think, Bud, that sort of reflects the sort of whole idea of NeighborWorks is, focus on that, the sort of social and community piece beyond just the housing. It's all about bringing people together and, creating that, those social networks, and that social capital, I think, is important. So fantastic. You guys are doing great work.
Oh, thank you. It's partnerships on this call and in the community that really care what's being built and step in to help. So
excellent.
I'm just following Mark's lead.
and I think there's you talked about this super energy good sense and that kind of energy awareness and cost of operation basically for housing is one of the factors in that, the net cost of housing, location and type. And I think the same, Eleanor Smith with Concrete Change made the same case for visitability. It's like that, it's like having an energy good sense award when you have an easy living home designation, or a home for life with that 0 step. I think those are kind of all factors in the ultimate cost to look at. So bravo.
This is our first project with that. We've built in Garden City and the floodplain. So about all of Garden City is in the floodplain area here as they decide to make that change. And so many of our homes were elevated in the living areas for that purpose, so that to mitigate the cost of flood insurance. And so we are excited to get back into a more not in the floodplain area and provide those opportunities in that way.
Amen. Other questions? I think we have, we're down to about 11 folks. Now we lost a few, at the top of the hour. So, I'll post this as soon as the recording is downloaded and put it on the fairhousingforum.org page. So I'll just, I'll put NeighborWorks in the title on this one, so you can just search for that in the search field, on the front page. Okay.
Well, thank you, all you here, and all the work that you do and the thought that you put into your communities. Appreciate letting us come in just for a little bit and share a little bit about some of the work and the hard work that you do, how it affects. We've been a beneficiary of that, and a lot of good things happen when we can come together in those fashions to help our communities.
Yeah, thank you as well, Eric and Matt and everyone. That it's really all about the partnerships. And when Bud and I go each year to Washington, D.C., that we talk to our congressional officials. And one thing I think they really like to hear is that all the leveraging and the partnerships that, there's lots of like private funding we bring into it, that we're doing more things to try to be self-sufficient, like the interest on loans or rent revenue or whatever it takes there. So we love our partners, and I think NeighborWorks is really good about reaching out, making this just a broad approach to the community development and the housing development. So thank you for everything you do.
Mhm.
And I know I just saw Jessica's post in the chat. That her brother, I think it was her brother-in-law, and his family had to spend $27,000 to modify the bathroom at his place.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to pop up a little graphic in the chat or on the screen share, so you guys can see what I think is a really interesting tidbit, and that is this chart here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's the sample cost savings for Medicaid eligible.
Yep.
So I worked on this back in 2012 with Kelly Buckland, and I just updated this from the Genworth cost of care calculator for 2021. But for each person who's Medicaid eligible, and if there's a 0-step home or a visitable home in the community that they can live in as opposed to an institution, there's a Medicaid savings that ranges from $23,000 up to over $60,000 a year. So there's some significant cost savings to having more visitable or accessible single family residential in the state. And again, single family is not covered by fair housing design and construction. So that's where, we need to really kind of engage with contractors and architects and planning departments and, and other folks to realize that not only does this save the homeowner, the resident money and increase their quality of life and independent living, but there's some significant potential tax savings too. So that's maybe a little a point that might be useful for some folks.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Thanks
it's
again.
expensive, I know. Yeah. I'm going to put another link in here for Jessica and everybody else to a company that you might find interesting called WheelPad. I don't know if some of you are familiar with that, but they actually
Yes.
make a modular unit that they will ship out, and you can add it onto a house, and they'll have a crew come out and help install it. And it's a self-contained, accessible, either attached or detached bedroom, and they can include an accessible bathroom in that unit. So it's like an accessible, addition on a flatbed that they'll send out and install. So it's pretty cool.
Can you say that's called WheelPad, Eric?
Yeah, wheelpad.com is I just threw that in the chat. So, and but yeah, check that out. I've had a lot of talks with RJ Adler. He's one of the folks that work for them, and they're interested in kind of reaching out into the Western market too. They're based in, I think, Vermont. Cool company though. All right. Well, thanks again, you guys. Great to see your faces and hear about all the cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm just catching up on the chat. I didn't realize Melinda posted her thing about the job, her party trailer, and it's pretty wild looking there. They got some good colors. You can see it coming down the block. So there's a party waiting to happen for sure. Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate your time today. Let us know if we can ever help in any way.
Sounds good. Good luck, everybody.
All right.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Guys, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.